On tap tonight on ABC. Let's fill in some blanks. So, Monica, let's start with Jason Tatum. We were talking about him a moment ago. He has proven what in the finals?
That the journey is just as important as the destination, Greeny. It has taken another opportunity in the finals. It has taken 5 total conference finals, and finally, the Celtics are on the brink of success. They've had to learn, they've had to grow, but they are here.
Yeah, sort of a traditional pattern in the old school of the NBA. How about his running mate, Jaylen Brown? Alan, fill in the blank. Jaylen Brown has proven what in the finals?
In your words, he is more than just a Robin. He is not a 1B. He's not a number 2. He's not a supporting cast player. He is an equal star, and that's what the Celtics have, and he has proven that once again on the biggest stage, because remember 2 years ago, he was their best player in the NBA Finals as well.
Once again, I'm not here for the slander of the boy wonder. Robin is an outstanding superhero character as well, but for the purposes of the discussion, I understand. Meanwhile, CJ, let's end with the Mavericks. Luka Doncic has proven what in these NBA Finals?
He's a great player, and regardless if he improves his defense or not, he will still be a great player. But I think we're holding him to a high standard because we expect him to be an MVP. 35, 10, and 9. He shows the athleticism. He shows the quickness on offense. We just want him to get the most out of his talent in his career, which would lead to a potential title.
Absolutely. A championship, an MVP, all those things feel possible. Something I didn't get to at the beginning of the show that I thought was really interesting, and I want to make sure you hear it. Kyrie Irving was having himself a huge night in Game 3, had himself a huge night, and unfortunately came up short. And yesterday, all the conversation was about his teammate, Luka Doncic. And Stephen A. was making that point yesterday.
I don't think people are speaking enough about how Luka messed up the game for Kyrie. I know Kyrie had a great game. It could have been even greater at times if Luka had just recognized, look, this is not my night. Things ain't going the way they customarily go, but it is for him. Just like it was going for me in the first couple of games, it's going for him tonight. Let me get him the ball and move out this brother's way because he's doing some special things right now. And I thought that Luka missed the boat on that.
Now, that's a really interesting thought. It takes everything kind of in a different direction. Wendy, let me just start with you because you're there, you're in the building, the dynamic of that. Stephen A. is basically saying this could have been the Kyrie game, and instead it became the Luka game. What did you think of that?
I think, let me just take a little step back and say that I think overall the Mavericks offense is dysfunctional right now. And not because largely of their own issues, but because Boston is really giving them all kinds of problems. They have yet to crack 100 points a game in this series. They didn't have 3 games in a row all season where they didn't score over 100. I think they only had 2 in a row once. This is an offense that's used to dominating. It's used to that 1-2 punch. And so I think they're just searching a little bit. And one of the big things where we're seeing this is they're not moving the ball. They're dribbling the air out of it. I think they're averaging 5 dribbles per touch, which is just crazy. It's almost twice as much as actually more than twice as much as the Celtics are averaging. So I think in general, the offense is frozen up and not moving well. If you want to point your finger at Luka, I guess you can, but I think it's a team-wide issue.
Monica, how about it? The idea here, like sometimes these games get names, right? This will always be remembered as this game, as that game. That had a chance to be the Kyrie game. The way he was playing after the struggles he had in Boston, if they win that game, all we're talking about is Kyrie Irving bouncing back, leading his team to a win. Instead, that was barely even mentioned yesterday. That's at least part of how I interpreted what Steve is saying. What do you think, Monica?
I think that's a fair assessment, right? But again, it ultimately goes back to an understanding for Luka that heavy is the head that wears the crown. And guys, despite all of this, like the Mavs still pushed and made this thing interesting down the stretch, right? And so you think sitting back, well, there's a few plays here or there that go differently. Do they have a chance to protect home court in Game 3? And so ultimately, I think Kyrie fully understands that he is in a support role to Luka Doncic, right? And so to CJ's point earlier, it's less about the basketball part of it and more about the antics, and that has bled over to us skipping over what was a really strong performance by Kyrie Irving. But ultimately, the win column is all that matters.
CJ, the way Stephen A. phrased that, I'm just interested because you've been on the court. I'm just thinking about, we got or Dame or someone like that. Like, is there a night when you're a great player like Dame Lillard, you're accustomed to being, that guy. Yeah. Are there nights when he might say, as Stephen A. said, you know what, it's his night, it's not my night. I'm going to take a back seat here on the offense tonight because he's got it cooking. Like, take me through how that dynamic on the court actually works.
Yeah, you continue to grow and evolve as your relationship grows and evolves, and as you get more experience and you get more comfortable having that dialogue. As Dame and I got to year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we were more comfortable saying, yo, let me have this one. Coach would drop an ATO. I might have scored 3, 4 in a row. He's looking like, nah, draw it for CJ. Coach might drop an ATO for me. I might look at him and say, nah, Dame's been killing, give him the ball. But that's the dialogue that you have to have with each other. The coach's job is to coach, but you're out there on the floor, so you have to be able to talk to each other about it. Hey, I got it going. I like my matchup, whatever the case may be. This is only year 2 for them, so they're still figuring it out. The last thing I'll say is Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets. I took the last shot. Coach was about to draw up the play for Dame. Dame looked at me and was like, you want the ball, right? I said, hell yeah, I want the ball. So we flattened it out. We scrapped the play. But that's the dialogue and the comfort that you have to have. And your star player has to be comfortable sometimes doing a Jason Tatum, doing a Kevin Durant, or a Steph Curry, where you defer to your teammate in the moment because the ultimate goal is to win a championship. And that's what we did.
What do you think?
But we did win a championship.
But that's the trust thing that you're talking about, though, right? And that does take time. Remember in Game 1 against the Pacers, Tatum was the decoy. It was Brown who got the shot in the corner, right? And that's Tatum knowing that. But that's where you have to get to. But we have seen throughout the playoffs how Luka has talked about Kyrie in irreverence, how much he has appreciated him as a teammate. So I don't know if we're really, seeing a selfishness in Luka about wanting the ball and not wanting Kyrie to shine. I think for Luka, he has just been in this place right now where he's been locked up by this defense, and he's been frustrated by this defense. His shots are short. That's probably the knee. I'm sure it's the ribs. There's probably a lot of things going on with him right now. So I don't know if a lot of this stuff is conscious what's happening. But I'll tell you what, for Kyrie, he needed this game. This was important for him. Now, he left the crucible of Boston where he had 28 points in 2 games, and he goes for 35 in 1 game at home. That says a lot about where he was in his headspace, a Monica McNutt word, that he was when he was in Boston. He goes home a lot more comfortable, and that's good. He also showed a 5 to those fans in Boston and let them know, I'll be back. I'll see you in Game 5. So while this was an important game for Kyrie, it continues to be important for him to force a Game 5, win this game tonight, so he can see those Boston fans again and maybe finally slay the dragon there.
We'll see. If there is a Game 5, it'll be Monday night on ABC. I can see everyone has a lot to say. I got one more thing I have to get in here. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to all of this. But this weekend